Hello troopers and welcome to the monthly Status Entropos dev blog. In this video we want to talk about the customization systems in the game, how deep they will be, what the balance will look like, what details and features we have prepared. And at the end, as always, we'll report on the budget and our plans for next month. Enjoy! Today, it's almost impossible to imagine a shooter without customization, especially in projects that pay great attention to weapon and gear details, including Status Entropos. However, it's important to understand the role and place of customization rather than simply adding the feature for its own sake. 2 months ago, we shared on Patreon our thinking and some details about the planned weapon customization systems in Status Entropos. In summary, its main goal is variety and personal comfort. For us, that comes before chasing numbers and meta builds. To give you an idea of the way of thinking, let's break it down. There are 2 main ways to balance customization systems. One approach makes each mod affect one or several parameters at once. This can create an entire metagame where the goal is to find the perfect loadout, level up, buy the right modules and install them in the correct combination. Players are encouraged to spend time or money so that eventually they reach the desired goal and become objectively better in a predetermined progression. This approach has its place, yet inevitably it puts the focus on numbers over modules themselves, their authenticity and personal comfort. Out of the dozen or even 100 of modules, only a select few see any use, and the optimal builds often end up looking like something cursed. Another approach makes modules either not affect stats at all or affect strictly one specific parameter. In this case, you lose metagame but retain plausibility and practical customization. As is often the case, the truth for us lies somewhere in the middle. Status Entropos will have a fairly deep progression, but its goal isn't to lock you into grind or microtransactions. It's to make the game convenient and engaging, giving you something to do. A quick example: imagine you're new to Status Entropos. While everyone else already has upgraded weapons, you have them too. Even though a brand new player will rightly see a limited selection of weapons, customization and gear, we look at the classes a bit differently and see them as ready-made builds for different tactical situations. In simple terms, instead of the usual class system, where you can start from scratch and the class is just a couple of traits and skills, in Status Entropos the classes have decent gear and weapons from the start. From the start, we give you the tools to fight back against game veterans. As for customization, it isn't the end goal of the game, though it is deep enough to sink hours into. It's about your personal comfort, using a particular weapon, sight, device or aesthetic of a particular accessory or piece of gear. Some customization will also be available to the Norman class character, but the deepest options belongs to the 6th class, the Trooper. Let's look at customizing that class in detail. A core principle of customization in Status Entropos is a clear separation between functionality and pure visuals. In the Gear tab, you can select your weapons: primary, secondary, and melee. Light and heavy gadgets include items like binoculars, thermal imagers, mines, sledgehammers, ballistic shields, grenade launchers, and so on. They are also shown on your character. Light gadgets typically hang off the war belt, heavy ones go on your back. By looking at any player, you'll have an idea of who they are and what role they fill. There's also consumables, including different types of grenades, plus medkits, gas masks, and similar items. Helmets and armor speak for themselves. Then there's the flap, our take on a loadout vest. It's a set of pouches that automatically adjust to the primary weapon you choose. Pick an assault rifle and the pouches change to rifle pouches. Pick a shotgun or an LMG and they adapt again. If you pick a weapon from fallen foes or allies and your flap is a different type, you may have a penalty or a bonus ammo capacity. And then there's the special perk. Here you'll find minor improvements tailored to your playstyle. All of these affect your stats and your character's role. On the other hand, each item adds weight to your loadout. Go above a certain threshold and you move into a heavier category with its own pros and cons. Now let's move over to the Equipment tab, where you customize your character's appearance. For example, headgear comes in 3 categories. No protection, this is like bandanas, baseball caps and bump helmets. Light helmets and heavy helmets with face shields. You can also equip glasses, headsets, balaclavas and neck accessories like a pendant, laryngophone or shema. Beyond simply choosing from a list like helmets, we're creating an entire system of variations. Like the same helmet can have a cover, goggles, a beacon, a helmet camera, and so on. You'll be able to change the camouflage too, but only realistic monotones, simple spray jobs, or real camouflage patterns were appropriate, especially if it has a cover. The same logic applies to nearly every other customization item: base and outer clothing, gloves, trousers, boots, and tattoos. We are paying special attention to morale patches. They let you show not only which side of the conflict, faction or unit you belong to, patches can convey endless amount of culture, meaning ideology and beliefs. They might be flags in different colors and variations, and we're respecting US and Russian flag proportions, blood types, Norse and Slavic symbols, religious imagery, quotes, historical events, or just something funny. Some patches we're making at the request of those of you who support the development with the highest tier on Patreon and wanted their Easter egg as a morale patch. Some parts of your gear, like headgear, outer clothing and the flap, have one or several Velcro panels to place patches on, so yes, you'll be able to customize patches on your character. In a future devlog, we'll dive into how characters and gear are created, ideas, references, voiceover, blueprints and details. For now, let's look at weapon customization. You've been waiting for it, haven't you? Weapon customization carries forward all these ideas through with some differences. Functional modules include sight. A sight does not directly affect stats. Mounting one won't make your gun inherently more accurate, though heavy optics may slow down aiming. This is about your personal comfort of aiming. Tactical devices, flashlights, lasers all have their own functionality built in. Magazine, the classic trade-off between magazine capacity and reload speed. Muzzle device, muzzle brakes reduce recoil, flash hiders suppress muzzle flash. Pretty straightforward. Suppressors lower the sound and slightly lower penetration due to subsonic rounds. Underbarrel module. This covers vertical grips, which only affect the weapon holding animations, as well as underbarrel grenade launchers and bipods where possible. And lastly, ammunition. We're not going to list the entire real-world ammo catalog here, you can simply choose tracers instead of standard rounds. When customization arrives in the game, we'll start by rolling out these functional parts step by step. Visual customization will come much later, but there we want to go all out, swapping handguards, stocks, dust covers, pistol grips and other parts that don't change the weapon stats. Status Entropos is a tactical shooter through and through, without an MMORPG angle. By avoiding potentially messy balance problems and customization, we can focus on how much usable content is in the game. We're not deciding for you what's best or worst, you decide what suits you. Again, variation system comes here, both in the modules themselves and weapons overall. The same sight might have a protective hood, sunshade or magnifier. Magazines might be polymer, bakelite, new, old, black, green, etc. Weapon itself might come in entire families, not just AK-74, but also AK-74N, AKS-74N, AK-RMO, and others, including commercial kits, especially relevant until we implement full customization where you can replace any part. And here we get carte blanche to include every generation of the oft-battered AK-12, from the prototype AK-400 to the newest AK-12K and SK versions unveiled earlier this year, not mention prototypes by Vladimir Zlobin. Sometimes we get asked, why this weapon instead of that one? Given our planned list of weapons is secret, sometimes we just want to answer, why choose it all if we can make both? We spent August not only developing and customizing systems, though we did devote some time to research technical approaches and doing some experiments. A lot of work happened on other fronts too. We finished a large batch of first-person movement animations and will soon start animating the M4A1 and the PP2000. We continue creating our own firing and weapon interaction sounds. This month we recorded the AK-74. We resume map work now that we have functional servers and proper network code. Testing them is much nicer. We took on a UA designer. Together we're turning early mockups into usable state, optimizing logic and preparing them for implementation in the game, which is planned for later this year. We took on a composer. Several pieces for the main menu are already written. We began the process of registering the game's name. It's expensive and unpleasant to spend money on bureaucracy, but it's unfortunately necessary. And last on the list, but probably first in time and importance, we dug into Unreal Engine. The standard versions weren't enough for us, so now we're working with the engine's source code. That will let us build a lot of deep mechanics, systems and custom optimizations. Incidentally, it takes up almost 700 gigabytes, so we had to buy another SSD. We'll talk more about the technical side of Status Entropos in the next month. As for spendings, the August budget is on screen. Again, thank you for the level of support we received after the last devlog. It's much easier to work and plan when we have a growing army of supporters and a growing budget. So thank you again. We can't do this without you. Thank you. You're making this happen. We also have to share a big milestone. Our game has surpassed 20,000 wishlists on Steam. That shows your support and motivates us to deliver the game as well as we just can. In September, we'll be diving into overhauling the engine and the weapon animation system. It's a huge job that could keep the programmers busy for a couple of months. At the same time, we'll prepare to open the first waves of pre-alpha multiplayer tests in the fall and through to the end of the year. The alpha stage will likely be pushed into the first half of 2026. There was just so much we had to build from scratch to deliver everything promised, and even more of what we have in mind. Troopers, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel, add Status Entropos to your wishlist, and join the community on Discord and other social platforms. See you next month, and as always, at ease, troopers!